This is an AT-RT from 2005, the very first one ever made. This is its exact remake from 2019, and this is the most recent AT-RT from 2020. What do all these AT-RTs have in common? It is that they are all incredibly oversized, and it's something that irritates me. And I'm going to be speculating, going over why LEGO might be consistently making these so oversized. Of course, I'm going to be mainly focusing on this one because it is the newest and is likely what LEGO will be going off of. But I feel like it'll still, it's still good to take these two out, and I may be referencing them in the video again. But just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, here's a picture of the AT-RT. Give it a look, and while you're taking a look, here is a minifig, which we're going to be putting right next to the AT-RT. And, let's get one that'll maybe stand up a little bit better. Maybe, yeah, how about him? Yeah, here, picture the AT-RT, and here's the LEGO version with what is supposed to be scaled next to. That's a pretty... Isn't that like a pretty big difference? I have a couple of other vehicles to show you here next to it. Here is Anakin's Jedi Interceptor. Keep the picture in mind. But here is this is an old set. This is the very first AT-ST. Still supposed to be minifigure scale. They are I don't care when an AT-ST was made, as long as it's compatible with a minifig, they should not be nearly the same scale. Like, come on, LEGO, it's an AT-RT. Here is the AT-ST Raider, which you're not going to be able to see the entire thing. It is nearly half the height. It is nearly up to the base. That is insane. So, and I'm going to be just really going over why I think this is oversized on Best Car Bricks here. Alright, so I showed you the AT-RT, and I showed you that it is very oversized compared to some other vehicles. If there's one thing I must say, and I think, the most recent clone turbo tank, they got it right. So they did get it right, but 2 years in a row, they got it wrong again. And why did they do that? Why did they do it in a set but continue not to do it? So, I think there's a couple of reasons. The first one that I thought of, I think is probably not it, but it's always a possibility. Doesn't seem like LEGO's the kind of company to do this, but who knows, they could absolutely be. There's always the possibility that they did it for money. Naturally, an increased thing would mean an increased price. Like, if you look at the one in the clone turbo tank, that's much smaller. That would be probably, if that was in a battle pack, there'd probably be another little build to go along with it. This have been, this has been the main build of its own set, with just a couple other side builds to go with it, and some minifigs, of course. This was its own build with one minifig to go with it. Of course, this also had a speeder with it and such, but still. In fact, this is actually a bit smaller than this. So, while they are going in the right direction, the original one was still smaller, but still, if you put, a lot of mock creators make their own, and you can buy, instructions for their own. And, the LEGO versions, dwarf it. And, it could be because LEGO would just get a natural, better profit out of this. But that may not, I don't think that is. The reason why I think it is because of kids. I think that having it bigger naturally makes it a better toy. Not only is it easier to fit on things like stud shooters, you can have better room for minifigs and more details for the figures up there, and naturally more articulation in the legs. And I think a lot of kids would just like a bigger thing. You can add these little things on the back. So I think the main reason why LEGO might be doing it is because they think it's a better toy. Of course, I think also they can also, I think, add in a little bit more detail. Like, the stickers on this set make more sense to me. Excuse me. But yeah, I think that those are probably the main two reasons, but it just being a better toy is definitely one. This doesn't bother a lot of people, but that is why I think why Lego did this is, of course, it is a toy product, but they do strive for accuracy, especially nowadays. So I just do find it so strange that they make it so oversized. Alright, but next I'd like to really, of course, to make this video longer. It's not, what is it, like 4 or 5 minutes now, and to really just go into this more. I want to look at the pros and the cons of this. Or a massive of course, a massive point to having it bigger is it being a better toy. Because there's a lot of, I think you can put probably more articulation in the legs, give you better action poses for kids to use. I think just it being like a little bit bigger would feel better for kids. More fun details like clips on the back and, a console to make it feel more lively. Excuse me. But that is a big point to this, but one major thing that takes away from it is that this would not look good on a mock. Like mock creators don't use this. I've seen very rarely good mock creators use these. Not saying if you use this in your mock that your mocks aren't good. Of course, I'm not saying that at all, but yeah, when posed next to minifigs in your battle scene, it doesn't look all that great. Especially if you don't modify that, but we're not here to talk about that. I reviewed this set on its own. Make sure you go check that out. But yeah, that's a really, honestly, as a display model, it's 50-50. On one hand, it being bigger, they packed more detail into it, especially in the stickers and other little details scattered all around this that probably they wouldn't be able to catch in a smaller, more accurate scale. But on the other hand, a lot of collectors would like to, maybe display their more accurate, more, recognizable Star Wars things. This does kind of look like, an original AT-ST got its top ripped off. Like that Last Jedi set that everyone hates. Did I forget the name? My First Order AT-ST, I think. So that is another thing with this. So it's very interesting. I actually don't have an actual scaled down AT-ST. I've seen ones though, and definitely they do look better than this. But once again, the detail here is increased. So just a little bit of interesting point of view. I see both ways very well. Me personally, what would I rather own? Of course, as a collector, I want just Lego and Star Wars in general. So this automatically has some appeal to me, but let's throw that all away, the smaller one. Just because that looks better in layouts, it's more accurate. And it looks much better with the minifigure on it. When you put a figure on this, it just practically, I've said, it makes the minifig look so tiny. It's absolutely humorous. Like, here I have this just random fig on it. Dang it. Yeah, I'm not even gonna, yeah, alright. I'm not even gonna fully connect him on there. Look how small he is. This is supposed to be more like a recon or a scout vehicle. A lot of times this is just supposed to be a small vehicle that clones would run in on. It's not at all a major AT-ST or what are they called? AT-DPs from Star Wars Rebels. I have to double check that. You know what I mean. If you've seen Star Wars Rebels, I think you'd know what I mean. It has a D and a P in the name. I forget what it is. But it's something like that. Yeah, this looks more like that to me. It feels, while it's not as big, I think, as the actual set was, it has a basic feel as a more, as a bigger, a little bit more powerful thing than smaller walkers. This is supposed to be a small walker, not a big one. Also, something else that I think is really worth mentioning I think with this though, one of the things that really is in favor of this is purely, I think is you can see just a lot. I think if they made it smaller, I think they'd be able to do less, in between each. It just feel more repeats throughout. If you look at these two, you can see a lot more differences and a lot more improvements between the two. But me personally, I think if you put onto the smaller scale, you'll just be able to see less improvements from each one. So just some interesting points of view throughout that. It's very fascinating, I think. I definitely personally take the smaller ones any day because this is not minifigure scale. It is bigger than minifig scale. They made it hold a minifig fine, but it's not minifigure scale, which is a bit of a shame. I don't know. Like, what do you think? I think that what do all of you think? Both ways, like, if you play with Lego, this is your thing. If you collect a Lego, this could also be your thing. If you're more of a completionist like me and you just want sets after sets after sets, you don't care what's in them. As long as it's Lego Star Wars, you think it's awesome. If you're a MOC creator, I don't think you're gonna like this. If you're new to MOCs and you're buying this set, only buy it for the figures. Please don't buy 50 of them, maybe buy a couple. But this would not look good in layouts. Like, it looks good on its own, maybe as more of a display item and a play item, but it just does not fit in MOCs. Not to mention the connections, you'd have to have some tiles there. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion on this. It has its pros and it has its cons, and I just quickly recapping. I think that this is oversized. No, I don't think this is oversized. It definitely doesn't bug some people, have I heard, but some people it does, and I'm one of them. And I think that Lego is doing this mostly for play value, which would make sense. In fact, the smaller ones, actually smaller AT-RTs would be more of a side vehicle. But once again, AT-RTs are just more of a side thing. It seems like in canon, yeah, they're not like major things. This is a big thing to me, but they're really not. But there's some interesting thoughts on this, and bringing these back over. I have reviewed the 501st one. I've not reviewed any of the other two. If you want to see either of them reviewed, please let me know in the comments. That's going to be it. So if you see any other sets, I have reviewed the Anakin's Jedi Interceptor, but I have not reviewed the vintage AT-ST. So if you want to see any of that reviewed, please let me know in the comments. This is going to be it for today's video. If you're enjoying it, please end up subscribing. My current subscriber goal is 50 subscribers. I'm going to do something special on that if that happens. And I'll see you in my next video.